Waverley Borough Council accepted at a meeting last week it may have wrongly demanded tens of thousands of pounds from residents for home improvements and has agreed to review their cases. Well, now, two Surrey MPs in Waverley have written to the Housing Secretary, Angela Rayner, calling for her to urgently review the current legislation surrounding it. One of those is Greg Stafford, the MP for Farnham and Borden, joins us now. Good morning.
Morning there, James.
Look, how did you first become aware of this issue?
Well, like so many things that come through to me, it's generally through constituency casework. And I had two people or two families from my area, one from Farnham and one from Hazelmere, who were, equally both charged £97,000 for the Farnham resident, for the Hazelmere resident. And, it may not be a lot of money for some people, but for these people, generally, it's a small home improvement or a small change to their development. And suddenly they're being hit by a massive bill. And Ian, who's the Hazelmere resident, told me how much stress it had caused him, and he's going to have to sell his home because he simply cannot pay the £74,000 surcharge that he's getting.
When you first hear about it, and for me, this has only come onto my sort of radar earlier this week, you sort of try and look at it and go, well, hang on, that's all a bit wrong, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's completely wrong. And there are two elements to that. First of all, the problem is with the, as I think in your clip was said, the complexity of having to fill in this form and the various different forms that have to be filled in. Other local authorities make it really simple, either by having a blanket exemption for residential developments or resident-based developments, or making it a simple one-page form. And the problem at Waverley is that it's a really, really complicated process. And the fact is, Waverley has known about this for a long time and have simply done nothing about it. And it's only, I think, due to the really good Conservative councillors on Waverley Council, especially Councillor Jane Austen, who's been leading the charge on this, that it's actually come to light.
Right, and have you got any idea of how many cases that you've had so far that you know about in Waverley Borough?
Well, I think, as you said in your intro, we know at least 7, but I think that those are that's just the tip of the iceberg, both in terms of the numbers of people in Waverley, but if you look across Surrey and perhaps the country as a whole, I suspect there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people who've been hit by this. I think it really is a national scandal, and that's why we have problems with Waverley locally, but actually it's why Jeremy and I have written to Angela Rayner to look at this from a national perspective.
Yeah, there's no consistency nationally. We should explain that. Different councils seem to deal with it differently, and some don't even charge at all.
No, absolutely. And I think, obviously, what we've got to understand is CIL is absolutely vital to provide infrastructure for local projects. That's, as you say, everything from as small as a bus stop through to, depending on the development, a whole new, brand new GP surgery or something like that. So it's absolutely vital. But what it was never intended for was for these small, granny annexes being built, a loft conversion. And actually what I would like to see is Waverley specifically, but across the country, there just to be an obvious blanket exemption for these small properties to make sure that no one else has to face these, well, it's essentially life-changing amounts of money that they have to pay.
Right. Positive news here, though. Waverley Council now prepared to review the cases of householders who've been issued with this charge. Do you accept that as being a positive move?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's taken too long, but I'm really pleased that it's happening. What we need to do now is make sure that it's not just the 7 cases that Jeremy and I have raised, but also that Waverley goes back through all of these potential developments and make sure that there's nobody else who we don't yet know about who's fallen foul of this.
All right, and Greg, for those of us who don't really know how the whole of Parliament works, you send a letter to Angela Rayner alongside, I know that you and Jeremy Hunt have done this. What does your letter do? What do you hope to achieve? And what's the sort of protocol, if that makes sense? Well,
I mean, I think there are 2 elements to it. First of all is the awareness raising of it, because to be frank, like you, before this information started coming into my inbox as a new member of Parliament, I wasn't aware of this problem, and I suspect that, to be frank, Angela Rayner and many in her department aren't aware of it. So I want to flag that to them first of all, but also there's a practical element. This is an unfair tax on residents who are doing minor home improvements, and I think that the government hopefully should respond to the letter and make some changes through its planning bills to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I really think that will help.
Greg, appreciate you coming in. Are you in constituency day today?
Oh, absolutely. Very, very busy from top to bottom, Hindhead in the morning, all the way through to Bagshot Lee in the evening and everywhere in between.
And are you enjoying the role as MP? It's like, 9 months in, I guess, now?
Yeah, not quite. About 7-8 months in, but yes, very much so. It's a fascinating job. It's a massive privilege, and I'm really enjoying getting out and about, talking to people, and trying to make even like on cases like this a minor difference to people's lives.